Airbnb just announced that you can now book a boutique hotel, rent a car, get groceries delivered, and get an airport pickup all in the same app. Our guest today has been running one of Gatlinburg's most established short-term rental businesses for 52 years. So we want to ask him, is Airbnb becoming everything? And if so, where does that leave the operator? This week, Airbnb dropped their biggest product announcement in years. Hotels, car rentals, grocery delivery, airport pickups, FIFA World Cup experiences, and a clear signal that flights are coming. Welcome back to The Check-In.
Hello, Sarah and Dupree. How are you?
Yeah, good. Good to see you, buddy. Welcome back.
Great to see you. And Tom Goodwin. How nice of you to pop in and see us, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great, Leo and Sarah. Nice to see you this morning.
Yeah, same here.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us early for you, I know, just so that Sarah and I can have a lie-in over here in Europe and just do that lazy European morning thing that we like to do. So appreciate you getting up at the crack of dawn. Guys, as you'll see today, we are delighted to be joined by Tom Goodwin. He's the CEO of Laurel Chalets. We're here to discuss everything in Airbnb's summer release and generally a look at the industry and where we are right now. Tom, for anyone who doesn't know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into the industry, and a bit more about Laurel Chalets?
Sure. I am married to my wife, Susan, who grew up in Gatlinburg, and her parents started Laurel Chalets in 1972. So this is the 54th year. Sarah, I have to update my LinkedIn post to reflect 54 years. And her parents began the business because hotels would have overflow, and the owners of those hotels would call Dot and Ralph and say, "Do you have room in your house? This couple just showed up and we don't have a room for them." So my wife and her sister would move out of their double queen in-suite room with an outdoor access, and it became the beginning of Laurel Chalets. That was in the 60s. In 1972, they went official, and they were the third vacation rental company in Gatlinburg. They are now the only remaining longest running family vacation rental business. But so I took over the business in 2012. I married into it in 1992. I live, eat, sleep, and breathe hospitality and love the legacy of her parents. They've since passed on, and my wife and I now own the business. We have 5 children, all girls. That usually is a bit of a jaw dropper. And we just graduated our last one from college. So we put 23 years in of college with the 5 daughters, and they're all gainfully employed, and we've launched them. So now we get to start having even more fun.
Wow, 5 daughters. You're truly blessed, my friend. And you seem to have got away with it. You've got more hair than I have, even though you've gone through 5 daughters. What a great effort.
The receding hairline may be there, but I'll hold on to it as long as I can.
Well, look, I've only got 2. Mine's disappearing at the rate of knots. So if you've got 5 girls through, I'm really impressed. Well done. And tell us, for anyone who's not from the US, has never visited the Gatlinburg area, tell us a bit more about it as a market. What's its unique character?
Absolutely. Gatlinburg is the gateway to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park in Tennessee, borders North Carolina as well. 12 million guests visit this national park, making it the #1 most visited national park in America. It has free admission, and so thousands of hiking trails, rivers, streams, fishing, horseback riding, endless views, and Gatlinburg is the host town to the entrance of the Smoky Mountains. And so it's a very small, quaint village, about 4,000 residents, and has been ever since my wife grew up there, though it's burgeoning, and the whole Sevier County area is probably one of the most visited vacation markets in the U.S.
Fantastic. What a great history. I'm going to ask my friend Sarah. Did you ever go there as a kid, Sarah? Is that a market you've done?
No, never.
Well, we need to change that.
I know, yeah. I'm just North Carolina originally.
If you come to Nashville or Verma, we can change that. You can have a little jaunt over to Gatlinburg in October, the most beautiful time of year with the changing of the leaves in the national park.
Yeah, I'm gutted. I'm not going to make it this year. My family summers in Edisto, or has like my whole life in South Carolina. And I chose that week before the dates were announced to go back home and do a trip at the beach with my parents. So I won't be in attendance this year. And I was gutted when I found the dates. I was like, come on, because I've always wanted to go to Nashville as well.
Well, it's interesting you say Edisto, because that's where our property manager, Kay, who's worked for us for 37 years, she vacations there every year with her girlfriends. Amazing. We all go to the beach because we work in the mountains. So we all find our favorite beach towns, and Edisto is hers.
That's amazing. Yeah, I get why. It's like unspoiled beauty, Leo. Just there's turtles hatching And at night, you can't have any porch lights on. Like, it's the clearest skies you've ever seen. It's super, I don't know how you would describe it, but yeah, just very undeveloped, which is rare to find in this day and age.
Love
So
it.
it's nice.
Well, look, Tom, you run a business you and your wife run a business in a very traditional short-term rental town with a long heritage. You talked to me off air, and I found this fascinating, and I'd love to bring this to the audience. So, given how long the business has been going, I think I'm right in what you just said. So you've only been on Airbnb itself for 3 years?
2.5, yeah, right, going on 3 years.
So, yeah, and your direct distribution's around 80%?
75 to 80%.
That's amazing. That's so interesting. And so you've got a really unique perspective, because I think whenever Airbnb do a release, there's people who've built their business on Airbnb, right? And there's people who use Airbnb as a channel. So yeah, any initial like sort of reactions 2.5 years in to being on Airbnb? How do you feel about it as an OTA, given that you're not reliant on it for your business? It's an additional revenue stream.
We were very reluctant to join in with Airbnb, but it became a little overwhelming for our market to attract the new first-time visitor. That's primarily who we find uses Airbnb to come to our market. They've never been to Gatlinburg. And so they're going to look at all the inventory for the whole region, which is great. So we use it as a billboard effect where we clearly state who we are as much as we're allowed to, and use that as an opportunity to have an inbound guest for the first time and then to earn their business as repeat guests going forward. So, we predate all the OTAs. We used to just put in 2 advertisements in a regional magazine called Southern Living in the US, which is very much the cultural family Southern magazine. And we would have 2 ads a year, and we got all of our business from those 2 ads. And then we we started a website, we started online bookings, and we were late to the game with all of that because everyone was just used to calling our phone number. They had memorized our phone number. They kept calling back, and they just used us as their preferred manager when they managed homes. So when our business started in 1972, there were 3 vacation rental management companies. 350 cabins were being rented in the county, and now there's up to 25,000 cabins and homes and condos being rented, in addition to all of the amazing hotels that we compete with as well.
Yeah, it's quickly become one of the premier destinations for sure across the US. And I'd be curious to see as well, like the supply pre-Airbnb, which obviously, fortunately, I don't have data for. Otherwise, I would share. And post Airbnb, because I think the OTAs for sure have given a lot to the visibility of the beauty of the entire area. And so, yeah, I love your perspective, because you've seen it from sort of its budding infancy all the way up to what it is today, which is a premier destination for vacation rentals in general.
And I come from a vantage point that many of your listeners won't be coming. Some are legacy operators that predate all the OTAs. In my market, we are becoming a rare breed of, there's so many new portfolio operators that have accumulated 200, 300 properties over the last 3 years, 4 years, that are 100% dependent upon the OTAs, at least for the first year. And I think that's Airbnb and VRBO have afforded people an opportunity to launch a business. But if you remain in that 100% booking on OTAs, you have then acquired a majority partner that controls your business, and you don't have the ability to steer the direction that you need to go. You become a servant to that entity. And they're really for me, I'm so glad we don't have that majority owner partner, and that we have a lot of autonomy and the ability to move into marketing and using Airbnb as a leverage, but not as a linchpin.
Yeah.
This is very well timed then, because I feel like these latest set of releases that have come out, almost the word I would say is like Airbnb is encroaching, I think, more on the day-to-day of being a manager. Let's just have a quickly to sort of go through the headlines from it, right? So boutique hotels in 20 cities. We know they're leaning into hotels massively. Car rentals, grocery delivery, airport pickups, luggage storage, more of a look at experiences again, especially around the FIFA World Cup at the moment, but just digging further into the in-stay experiences stuff. And then AI-powered review summaries, a shared trip itinerary builder, an AI customer support assistant that's now handling 40% of queries in 11 languages. So Chesky's stated vision is an app that tracks your flight, meets you at the airport, stocks your fridge, and guides you through the whole trip. Sarah, you'll also have a gut reaction here, but Tom, let's start with you. What do you think of this?
Well, I think it's smart of them to do. They're building a more efficient engine. They're having cost savings through the AI responses in the different languages. There's a lot more efficiency. And honestly, I do enjoy having expediency when I'm on a customer service call. If you go into a large warehouse box hardware store and you ask where something is and the person doesn't know where it is and you wander all over the store, you begin to think, why did I even ask them? But when you have the app on your phone and you write in the specific thing you're looking for, it tells you the aisle and the bay that it's in. I love that because I want efficiency when I'm going to the hardware store. I want to get in and out, or even any other big box store. But when I'm going on vacation, I also want to leverage that efficiency. But I think what we do in our market and with our brand and our company is that we build deeper relationships that last long beyond consuming the product and just having an allegiance to the best price, the best deal that we can have. In our market, it is unusually strange that people come back multiple times a year. We have some guests that visit us 6 times a year, rent a house. They want to see all the different seasons, it's not the majority of our guests, but several do that. And so many of our guests come back every single year. They want the efficiencies, but they want the deep relationship, the connectedness, and the assuredness that they're going to be taken care of. So I think when we look at vacation rentals, as we look at them as just for expediency and efficiency, use all the AI tools, use all those things that Airbnb is doing. I don't fault them whatsoever, but we cannot miss the fact that we need to have the human connection. And that's what plays off in the long run. And that's what I believe allows for the repeat guest, which is gold. The direct repeat business positions you for the long term to weather the storms of the future. And Airbnb is not able to produce that. Now, they will produce it through their point system or their rewards or different elements like that. But we want to capture them on that first visit and then win them over with the hospitality and the warmth and the deeper relationships.
Yeah, I think this is something that for me is really unique to traditional vacation rental destinations as well. I know, like for my parents, they go two weekends, 2 weeks a year to the mountains and 2 weeks a year to the beach. And they always book through the same agency. And then usually it's the same house even. And they go ahead and have their dates already pre-booked. And so this is something that is much more sort of the traditional holiday maker that goes sort of same place every year. They like the familiarity. They know they love the area. And this is very different from maybe new age travelers, I think, that are more into novelty. It's like, okay, well, I've been there once, I'll go somewhere else. So I'm curious, just from your perspective, how you have seen the evolution of the guests. I know you mentioned, especially kind of getting those new guests in. A lot of times those are coming from the OTAs. But have you seen a generational shift as well in the visitors coming to Gatlinburg and or to the majority of your rentals? How is that kind of changing over time?
Yeah, I love that you explained our legacy or our persona, our guests, your parents, probably about my age. And if I am building my entire business on your parents or people my age, then we are going to age out in 30 years. They're not going to be taking 2-week vacations in 30 years from now to both locations. So how do we capture the next generation? And Gatlinburg has seen an incredible influx of international travel, young travel, millennial travel, because they love the outdoor experience. So we have thousands and thousands of acres with the national park. Its accessibility. This, especially COVID, really heightened the need to be outdoors and have the outdoor experiences. And there's so many attractions in our market. Dollywood is a huge theme park in the area. Everyone loves Dolly Parton. There's a resurgence among millennials and younger people that love Dolly because she represents inclusivity, love, connection, Southern hospitality that really has boosted. We love Dolly because of what she brings to our market. So I also serve on the Gatlinburg Chamber of Commerce as a board member. So right now, this morning, every month we have marketing committee meetings, and we're always looking at what are the trends, who are the people that are visiting. And I would say the target audience is a 45 to 60-year-old woman who's making the decisions for her family. But all of our advertising and marketing trends below that age point because we want to capture that younger age. And I agree that Airbnb, hands down, does a great job with urban markets, with the travel, with the experiences and the unique elements of a different home or what makes this home incredibly unique. And that has changed some of the homes in our market. Those that are really boring, that look like every other cabin, don't do that well. You've got to have some sort of unique amenities and features within your home. But I think there's going to be a swing for travelers that are wanting a little more nostalgia. My daughter just graduated from college and asked for a film camera because she wants to take photos that last and that mean something. So she's going to print them. And I had to load the film for her. She had no idea how to do that. And our other daughters who gifted her this camera had to find it on eBay just to reel the foam in. So an old Canon, the actual film, you have to purchase it, do it online, and all that stuff. I think there's going to be a return towards that local operator who provides a unique, personal, human experience. Our travelers are wanting to slow down some more. They're not wanting the hype. And they're seeing through all of the AI, all of the plastic fantastic, the Instagram moments, and they've done all that. They've consumed it. And I think they're weary. And I think that's a place where the local operator has an opportunity to really gain by telling stories and capturing the hearts of those travelers. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens over step-by-step, long-term reviews, stories, word of mouth, all those different elements. But I am very hopeful that there's a continued place for operators like myself in a very fast-paced, aggressive, AI technology-focused industry to slow things down and bring it home. One guest recently, Rob Stone, I wrote an article about his son creating memories, posted on LinkedIn. Rob has an 8-year-old son. I think he might be 40, so a little bit under the demographic of what we naturally attract. He is from Kentucky, travels about 4 hours to visit us 3 or 4 times a year. And he is one of those that is beginning to slow down and reflecting on what really matters when he sees his son, his 8-year-old son, Mason, running through Cades Cove, capturing those moments. And he wants to be settled into an environment and a culture and with a vacation rental management company that is going to come alongside him and be a part of creating those deep, rich, lasting memories.
Couldn't agree more. I think that's so true. That people are desperate for these breaks from their cell phone, breaks from their laptop, and get out in nature, be in the fresh air. It's interesting because I think people are going to use AI to find that trip and then try and unplug when they get there, right? Which is where your brand that you've built gives you an advantage, right? Because then you can play the AI search game because people will find it because it's authentic. So I think there's exciting times in that respect. It takes me back to the operator that is more dependent on Airbnb and hasn't been able to get out of Airbnb's shadow. In an environment where Airbnb is taking over the whole trip from start to finish, it does really diminish their opportunity to build out the brand that you guys have been able to build over the years. Like, do you think it'd be possible to build what you've built now if you were starting in 2021 or 2015? What's your take?
It would be so much work. I look at everyone that's beginning and launching, and God bless them in 2021. That was a really fantastic time to come into the market. And I think they had unrealistic expectations, and a lot of investors came alongside them as well. And now I am getting the multiple phone calls every week from those owners who are saying, this isn't what I expected it to be. And they're disappointed by the heavy volume that their operator is trying to manage and maintain, and they can't sustain it. There's other elements that go into this that it seems great. Have 250 rental homes, no problem. List them all on Airbnb and burn the heads on beds and make it happen. But the reality is these are individual homes that have to be maintained and managed. And there's a sense of it's more than just marketing Instagram-worthy photos and getting guests to book your house and having those algorithms. You have a product that is unwielding, unresponsive. Plumbing goes out. Lawns need to be mowed. Poles end up in the drywall. All of those elements of really what it takes to keep a home up to speed is important. I always say to people when they rent a car, who cleans a rental car? No one cleans a rental car. They just hand it back and they don't care about cleaning out the crumbs or anything like that. And that's how all of our guests are consuming their homes. So every turn, we have to be refreshing and renewing this home. But the rental cars keep their cars on the market for 18, 15 months, and then they sell them. They consume them. And that's what I'm seeing is happening in the vacation rental market with people that have been with operators and managers that are consuming the homes their homes are depleted. They haven't invested back into them. They're being dismissed by the rent management company. They can't get to them. There are too many homes for them to possibly inspect and to keep the product. So sure, the photos look great when you start, but how is the house doing and being maintained 3 or 4 years from now? And I think we really underplay how big of an operation it is just to maintain and manage a home. And that's where I think the local vacation rental manager has to be operating in light of protecting the product and the inventory, as well as the guest experience and the hospitality. But I think that a lot of the opportunists that have come into the market have undervalued the importance of home maintenance because that is the product in and of itself. And it's not a hotel with identical rooms, easy to clean, 15 minutes out, 15 minutes, clean and done, and you can flip it. But this is a very unique market. Where's the fuse box for this house? What are they on Roku or are they on Spectrum app? And you have to know all those different elements. And you can use technology to coordinate that. But bottom line, septics go out, wells run dry, ACs break on new homes even. And you have to have the ability to respond to those guests. And I think it looks really sexy to be in this business, but it is hard work. And Steve Schwab always says, are you willing to clean the toilets? So yes, you've got to be willing to do the very unsexy things.
Yeah. It goes beyond just the cleaning, doesn't it? As you say, it's the actually just managing the property, managing the lifespan of a property. I think it's really good that you've highlighted that. Again, this maybe goes back to as well the fact that you're in a traditional vacation rental market and you've been doing this as a business for 54 years and you've been involved since the 90s. You've been through these peaks and troughs in demand and these you've probably got lots of owners that have come and gone, come back on, gone again, as their tastes change. And you're right, there needs to be that focus on the fact that it's a product that has to be maintained. And I think that's maybe where all of these Airbnb announcements miss the mark, right? Because they're trying to own more of the experience. But really, they're not going to be down there on the ground checking whether the photos match the quality of the sofa or whether it's crusty and it actually needs to be replaced. And that, I think that's where I think we need to get real as an industry and actually think where does their influence end? Because they cannot replace they cannot be a property manager unless they physically are going to be one, right?
Well, they're consumers. They're consuming the product, the property managers and those that are on the boots on the ground. They have no ownership within that. And we are providing all of the value and the benefit to them. And we're beholden to them because they've created an incredible marketing platform, bar none. Brilliant, excellent, clean, streamlined, beautiful presentation, efficiency, and so forth. But the reality is that when push comes to shove, if let's use an example. I use Uber or Lyft often. It's a crapshoot as to what kind of experience I'm going to have, and then you rate it on you rate each other. So I had to take an Uber once to have a medical procedure. 5 a.m, had to get an Uber. I didn't want to drive. They said I couldn't drive myself, so I got an Uber. The guy was playing the loudest music. It was freezing in the car and it smelled like air freshener, like on steroids. Like I was in a laundromat inside, the Febreze. And it was horrible, but I was trapped. I had no other choice. So do I leave him a 3-star, 1-star, 2-star review? Well, how's he going to rank me? And so it's a bit of this crazy maker. And I think people are beginning to see through that and wanting to have a local operator take care of them. My daughter's in-laws come to Atlanta from Texas and they have a driver. They coordinate a driver because they don't want to get into the Febreze car playing rap music. So they want to, know what they're going to get. And I think, they have the privilege to be able to do that. But I think in light of this industry, we need to carve a niche where we're creating more of that hospitable, human, reliable experience. So Airbnb cannot protect. The way they do protect is by scale, by reviews, by cutting you off the platform. You're expendable. We have consumed you, and now we move on because there's someone here to replace you again. And that's a great business model for them. It's a horrible business model to be beholden to as an operator.
Yeah. You bring up an interesting point. And here I'm Barcelona, where I'm based. We used to have Uber, then they left. Now we have Cabify. Cabify's great. Like every single one of the cars is nice. They're always super friendly. There's always water in the car. I get in an Uber in America and it's completely different experience. You don't know who's picking you up. It's like, it could be just your neighbor down the street who's trying to make some extra cash. Whereas here there's different standards, I think. Like you have to have a certain type of license and things like that. So I've seen Airbnb go down this route. They're for sure the original plan for them was let's get as much on the platform as we can. I think now they're starting to realize that even though they're not boots on the ground and creating the experience, their brand is associated with the experience. So if somebody has a bad experience at a property that they have booked through Airbnb, that becomes an Airbnb image issue, whether they like it or not. And so they did recently remove a bunch of underperforming listings or listings that had bad ratings and bad reviews. And so I'm curious as well how you think that's going to play out for some of these new operators. Are their reviews impacted by the fact that, as you mentioned, they're managing maybe 200 properties, but they haven't scaled that in a sustainable way? And so there's obviously processes that are falling by the wayside. I'm curious how vulnerable they are to these whims of Airbnb that are changing. They could remove you at any point, or they can launch their own. It's sort of a two-part question, but I know a lot of our managers as well make a lot of their money on additional services. So on a concierge or on transfers or on a lot of these things that are coming out in the new announcement that Airbnb's made for their summer release. How does that impact the bottom line of the boots on the ground operators like yourselves? Even if a majority of your bookings obviously direct, but if you were reliant on Airbnb and for the ancillary services to provide that revenue, what would the impact be?
Well, I do think what we are seeing is a bit of the myth of reviews or the validity of the reviews. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You give me 5-star, I'll give you 5-star. We can't see their review until we review them. So I think that the consumer is beginning to see through that. And they're like, this is not what I experienced. And how the local operator that is dependent upon the OTAs in my market, I have seen this as I've gone into some of these homes where an owner says, would you come consider our home? I've seen at the front door, a listing of how to leave a review on Airbnb. This is a 5-star review is it was good enough. That's what we need you to write. Literally, I took a photo of this PDF they had laminated at the door. This is how you leave a review. And if everything was all right, it's a 5-star. This is not like other reviews that you had. This is really important. And we will then leave you a 5-star review so you have a good experience. This was a home, 5-bedroom home that had about 3 coffee cups, 10 plates, and 2 spoons in the kitchen. And it had been consumed over 5 years, damages all over the home. Yet they were able to accommodate that or make some accommodations in order for them to guarantee that they would have 5-star bookings. Well, I think you can play that game for the short run, but it's not going to work. It's going to catch up with you. It's not going to work over the long haul. I think with AI, you can analyze all of your messages from your guests to determine how likely is this guest to leave a 5-star review and only push reviews to those people so that it elevates your review system on Google or other markets. So you're really incentivizing the pleased guests that came into your 200 properties and you're de-incentivizing those that had complaints. Or you're accommodating them with refunds, with bribes, with a free stay next. And they're costing you money because you realize how much a 1-star review on your Airbnb platform can kill the property. So you're willing to, refund that guest. I think that's a short game. That's not the long game that you need to have. And I can't remember the second part of the question.
Oh, the second part was about add-ons. So I know a lot of our property managers make money from add-ons, whether that's transfers or something like that. Tell us a little bit more about how, if you were a property manager that was heavily reliant on Airbnb for your bookings, how you would be taking the summer release that they're getting into all of these ancillary services that currently are offered by a lot of property managers.
Well, I would say you've lost your opportunity then to upsell on different opportunities. It's very cumbersome on Airbnb to even add another night, a discounted rate on another night, or add a second pet. I mean, when we have a guest that requests that, they have to then go to Airbnb and make that request. It becomes such a painful process. But I think a lot of operators are finding that, let's say cleaning fees as one example. If they have created a cleaning partnership with another cleaning company and they get a cut of the fees of all the cleaning, and that's a base rate, we'll charge $250 for the cleaning, but we know it only costs us $175. So we're making $75 on every other cleaning. We know we cannot capture all those extra bookings, but we've already earned the $75 per booking on profit on cleaning. So let's lower the price on the house, get this rented as many times as possible because our profit margin is $75 a booking. It might seem really small, but when you multiply that by 20,000 bookings a year, that is a business model that's very relevant and that works. So some savvy people are working on ways to create other auxiliary expenses that Airbnb wouldn't have control of. That is an automatic pass through. But I think for us, we love working and partnering with local operators, restaurants, people that would provide those type of experiences that the guests are looking for. And we add those on as a free referral. And because we're doing business with these long-term companies, it comes back to us. So we're not looking at this as a percentage markup for every one of them. When you hike in the national park, it's free. But the guests want to know, what are the best hikes? What are the best parking places? When do I go? We're able to provide that for them. And I'm not going to charge them $25 for a hiking chart or a path or a recommended, but that's just a value add-on. And I think if you are 100% dependent on the OTAs and Airbnb, and they are now adding these things, you've got to begin thinking, how do I create more of a direct booking engine and create those experiences that I can provide for the guests? Honestly, the more that Airbnb splinters and divides, the more bland of experience it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be as robust as possible. I think what we have the opportunity is to stay in our wheelhouse, to create the experience for the guest, provide a clean, well-maintained home, a trusted operator, and then also provide those auxiliary services that are connected to real relationships as opposed to just a consuming.
I think that's fantastic insights, Tom. And that idea of being a local champion as well, right? There will be people in your neighborhood who do different things, maybe restaurateurs, shopkeepers, hoteliers. You mentioned how there's a wonderful selection of hotels in your market. You're all trying to work together to raise the area, right? And I think that it's another reason why Airbnb should be careful, because if you kill off that way of doing business, or you attempt to kill it off, what comes in its place? Who is going to be that local hero connecting people and making sure that these properties are professionally managed and well run? And it has to be a professional game to ensure the quality and the repeat guest time and time again. So yeah, I think they do well to look at markets like yours and see what they can learn in terms of working in partnership with providers.
I wish they would work more in partnership with us as opposed to seeing us as competitors. I have a very strong bias towards abundance as opposed to scarcity. And scarcity leads towards fear and comparison and looking at others as the enemy. And having an abundance mentality means that there's more than enough to go around. And how can I partner with others? And wouldn't it be great if we all won, if it was a win-win for everyone, as opposed to we want to conquer and win and beat everyone else. But I'm a local family-owned lifestyle business. I have the privilege to say that. I don't have investors. I have no debt. That's a very privileged place to come from, but I think it's a very powerful place to come from. And that's where people really need to move into that opportunity of the long game and to be the majority owner of their business and not have an unwelcome majority partner.
Tom, thank you so much. It's been wonderful. Sarah, what a great chat.
Yeah, this was fabulous. I love that, to leave our audience on, that it's all about abundance and not about scarcity. Abundance creates joy for all people involved, whereas the scarcity it creates fear and negativity, and that's not what we want more of in the world.
But when people are going on vacation, you want to create a deep, rich, meaningful experience that lasts across multiple generations. And our guest, Rob Stone, who I wrote the article on LinkedIn, he said, I had one vacation I remember as a child, and I will never forget it. And what I am committed to is creating those memories for my son that will last throughout his life. More than just one, but let's make sure that all of these are meaningful and that's where I think let's move away from the consumer mentality, which leads towards scarcity, and let's move towards the hospitable, giving mentality, which leads towards abundance.
Tom, I love it. Thank you so much for joining us. If our audience want to find you, where can they find you?
LinkedIn is the best place to find me, Tom Goodwin, on LinkedIn with Mountain Laurel Chalets.
Amazing. And now I've got you on air, I can ask you, to the point where you probably can't say no. We should definitely record something in Nashville when I'm over there for the RMA, shouldn't we? We should definitely get together.
No, we should record it in Gatlinburg.
Hey, there you go. There you go. You have a deal. You have a deal, my friend. And we'll make Sarah super jealous that she's not coming.
She'll be having a great time in Edisto, creating memories that last a lifetime.
I'm going to be having a great time. It's turtles and stars.
All right, guys. Thank you. And to you at home, if you've enjoyed today's show, please hit like, share, subscribe in all the usual social places. And we'll see you again next week without Sarah Nandapri, because she's going to be enjoying herself in the USA and I'm going to have a guest. Where are you going, Sarah? Tell us what you're up to.
I'm actually going to Tom's hometown. I'm going to Chicago to visit one of my best friends. She lived out in Barcelona for the last like 8 years, and she just moved back last year. And I haven't been to visit her yet in her new home. She's originally from Chicago as well. So yeah, I fly out tomorrow. I'm so excited. It's going to be great.
A beautiful time of year to go. It's
Yeah.
gorgeous.
I told her winter, it's not happening again. I went once in January and it was the coldest place I've ever been in my life. I feel like Siberia isn't even that cold. May is perfect.
Amazing. Well, Sarah, enjoy yourself. And Tom, thanks again. Cheers.
Thank you.